Welcome back to Sahara TV. My name is Rudolph Okonkwo. This is our continuing coverage, special coverage of the inauguration of President Muhammadu Buhari. I hope you've been enjoying our show. We're now going to go back to Abuja to speak to a foreign correspondent, the AP reporter. She covered the inauguration for Associated Press, Ms. Chika Oduah. Chika Oduah, welcome to Sahara TV.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure as usual.
All right. So you were there at the event. What's your take? How did it go?
Excellent. I think that this was a world-class production. Everything was very efficient, very organized. It was wonderful seeing all the dignitaries and wonderful seeing what Nigeria can do when we actually put our mind to doing something very well.
What's outstanding about today's event? Is it the people that came, how they conducted themselves? Be specific.
I think what's outstanding is that a lot of people saw a change. They thought that the fact that it started at a decent time was an element of change. There was such a camaraderie in the air. Everyone was like talking amongst themselves as far as there were no differences, regional, ethnic, religious. Everyone just kind of blended in together as one Nigeria. And it was very, very palpable in the air to feel that mood.
Now, the event was well received across the country. People felt that someone said we got our country back. Did you see people from the outgoing administration, apart from the president? Did we see other public officials at the event, or they were not there?
I was looking really hard to find some. I saw a few guys in Abuja, of course. FCT Minister Bala Mohammed was walking up and down like some type of king. Like he was just parading the grounds and people were telling him to sit down, what are you doing? So that was kind of funny. And then I saw Michael Mary, you know, just some officials like that, appointed officials, no elected officials. I didn't see any, but I was certainly looking for some.
Now, I know you've been covering the Boko Haram issue for a long time. The president gave a speech where he gave up to 3 paragraphs talking about Boko Haram. Did you hear anything new from what he said compared to what has been said or what the previous government was doing about Boko Haram?
I like when he talked about, number one, human rights abuses. They're going to try to avoid human rights abuses. So that shows that he's very conscious and that there's a way, an ethnic way to fight a war. And that hasn't been emphasized enough, or wasn't emphasized enough in the past administration. So I really thought that was a very salient point to bring out. And of course, it was great for him to mention the Chibok Girls. It was just a one-liner, the Chibok Girls, but it was very, it was well appreciated. The crowd really liked when he said that. And there were so many ways of inshallah once he said, you know, we'll bring back the Chibok Girls.
Yeah, I know that line that we cannot claim to have defeated Boko Haram without rescuing the Chibok Girls. Now we know that the military, they've been able to get into Sambisa forest and they've not seen them. They've been able to retake most of the towns. They've not seen them. What do you think? Where are they, and how are they going to find them? I mean, do you think it's something that is practical considering where we are in that fight?
I do think that they are going to find them. Why? Because today, right after the inauguration, a U.S. military official actually met with Buhari. So that official was the first foreign official to meet with the new president. So that meeting basically was finalizing moves for the United States to bring military advisors into Nigeria. And of course, there was a strained relationship between Nigeria and America in the past because of the human rights abuses. So now with this new administration, America is opening up its arms once again on the military front. So I do believe that these girls will be found. Last year, we know that the U.S. military, they were able to actually spot the Chibok Girls on satellite images. So I think that with that expertise and that technology, once again, will be on an advantage to finding these girls. Locals still believe very much that the Chibok Girls are within Nigeria. We heard 2 weeks ago, Borno State governor saying that the girls are hiding in bunkers that are hidden in Sambisa forest. So I do think that we're going to have better luck this time because U.S. military is actually opening its arms once again to Nigeria.
Now, another part of the speech talked about power supply in Nigeria. I know recently there have been issues with power supply has been going down, the amount of power we produce, and of course the fuel shortages. Were you impressed by what he said about that, and is there any change in the power situation in Abuja?
I wish I could actually find that quote where he talked about the power, but basically he kind of scoffed at the millions of dollars that have been thrown into the power sector since 1999, transitioning to civilian government. And he said that nothing is done. You know, all we have to show for this millions of dollars thrown into power is misery, frustration, and darkness. I think those are the three words that he used. And it was an amazing description of what's actually happening. And of course, it's been getting worse and worse for me personally the past month or so. And I think it's great that he actually spoke about the elephant in the room. He didn't want to ignore it, and he actually punched at this issue very hard. He tackled it. He was very tactical, but he actually did tackle this thinking that everyone is thinking, of course, because, of course, this corresponds with the fuel subsidy, and everyone's wondering what's going to happen with Buhari and fuel subsidy.
Now, let's go beyond Abuja, because we know that other parts of the country, there are state governors who are leaving and new ones are taking over. I want you to tell us, what are you hearing happening in Bayelsa State, where the former president went back to? What did you hear?
Well, I'm hearing that he was received with open arms. I think that his Ijaw people are like, you know, welcome back, brother. And they're actually quite pleased to hear that he's willing to just settle back in Otueke. There are rumors that maybe Patience doesn't want to do that. We don't know. I don't want to speculate. But the fact that he's able to say, let me just go back to my native land, settle, I'm a son of the soil, I've done the best that I can for Nigeria. And he's saying that what he wants to focus on now is peace building and kind of play that elder statesman's role. So the fact that he was received so well, because, you know, after he conceded defeat, what was that, March 29th or so, after the elections, a lot of Ijaw people were actually quite disappointed. We heard them threaten things like that. So the fact that he was able to appease and placate his own people, and again, he's coming back, I think it's very symbolic. It's very significant that he's just coming back to his own people, and they're welcoming him with open arms.
Now, what about Kaduna State? What are you hearing happening there, where El-Rufai took over as the governor of the state?
Well, I heard that there was a big street party. I talked to a few people in Kaduna, and you know, El-Rufai has such a mixed. There are a lot of mixed feelings about El-Rufai here in Nigeria. Here in Abuja, actually, some people actually remember his FCT ministerial administration with nostalgia, despite the fact that he kind of pushed away, you know, poor people. But a lot of people talk about his time here. I was talking to some colleagues yesterday who lived in Abuja during FCT, when he was an FCT minister, and they said that the capital city was so clean, it was very efficient, everything was clearly demarcated, residential area versus commercial area. So I think a lot of people in Kaduna, his home state, are kind of wanting for those changes to be brought there. Kaduna, it's such a, I see it as a metropolis. I've been, you know, several times, and I think that it's time for an upgrade because a lot of Kaduna and Kano people, they're wanting that change to kind of go to the north. And also Kaduna has been comparing itself with the changes that Kwankwaso was doing in Kano. So they're kind of trying to see if this can be paralyzed in Kaduna as well, trying to see if that change can be made as far as infrastructural development.
Okay. For international media, or for a media like AP that you work for, what would be the headlines for tomorrow?
That's a good question. I think a lot of people are wondering about the first family, you know, so trying to see how Aisha, the wife, and the children will settle in. I mean, I think there are already pictures swirling all over the internet with Aisha and the daughters. I think I saw like 6 daughters. He has a lot of daughters. So I think that would be a headline. People would like to see what's going to happen with the first family, just kind of moving into Asho Villa. So I'd like to see that headline. And then, of course, the cabinet, like, who's he going to pick? So, yeah, we're all waiting.
All right. Chika Oduah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. When we come back, we are going to talk to Dr. Perry Bremer, who is also in Abuja. We're going to get his perspective on the events of today. And, of course, we are going to take your calls. We want to hear your feedback on some of these issues we've been discussing. Stay tuned.